Yo guys, Vision here bringing you the best areas to be landing in Verdansk as of the latest update part 2, which will identify the best landing areas from the start of the game, but also as a regain spot for later in the game in case your initial start doesn't go to plan. So on that note, let's get right into it. So first things first, you need to consider a couple of notes when you're landing in an area, whether that's going for a high kill game and you're interested in going for a chaotic start, whether that be jumping right out of the plane into a hot zone straight away, or you're looking at the rotation of the zone, the landing area as such, and where it might potentially end, but also if you're looking for safe spots to land, for the rotation, the plane route, when to jump. These are all things you need to consider when you're trying to pick the right landing spot, and just reading the map in general helps with doing that. Now, of course, having repetitions and experience on these maps is key, and you will understand that in time. But if you guys are new to this and you want some help, I'm going to provide you some landing areas that will be both catered for high kill areas, as well as safe spots, and as well as regain spots midway through the game, in case you guys weren't aware. So whether you're aiming for a high kill game and you're prepared for a chaotic start, a hot start, considering the rotation and location of the zone from the beginning is key. But also, if you're going for a safer spot, understanding which spots are actually typically safest to land and how to read the map is also key. However, if both of these fail and if your initial start doesn't go quite to plan and you're successful in winning your gulag, you will then also need to consider where is safe to regain on the map. Because let's be honest, not every game is perfect, and if you're going for a high kill game or you go for a risky contract, it could quite easily go wrong. So, as I've mentioned, there's various factors which need to be considered when you're planning your landing spot. So what I'll do is summarize all of the best landing areas in the map from my own experience, and then break down the factors such as what to expect, where you should go, why you should go there, and when you shouldn't, and also how to rotate through the map for both safety reasons and also high kill games. Now, when making this video, as I mentioned before, I made a conscious effort to divide the areas on this list, to divide both safe spots, hot spots, money spots, etc., regain spots, to cater to all different styles and experiences for all different types of players, in case you guys are not after a certain spot, or in case you guys just weren't aware of the bigger picture on the map, and particularly which areas are hot spots or safe spots, etc. So first on the list, let's start with Boneyard, which is a hot spot, somewhere where you are going to get high kills if you get out of here alive. If you manage to find a contract and get kills, you are going to be starting off really well for a high kill game. This is the great west side rotation spot. Usually there's like 3 to 4 plus contracts here and a helicopter spawn, and this spot is always just chaos. Whenever I've been there, if we manage to get the most wanted or the scavenger, and then we manage to get the loadout really early, we typically have a really high kill game. However, the key there is making sure you all stick together if you're with a squad, and making sure you're rotating around as a unit, doing the contract together, or just chasing kills together, because if you're going for a hot start, you need to make sure you stick together in this game, and especially in this current meta. So just make sure you're aware of that. Now, as for the second spot on this list, we're going to go to military base. This has just got plenty of open area in here. There's quite a safe spot at times. However, depending on the zone and also the plane route, this can actually be a really hot spot. There's not much loot here, so I would make sure if you are going military base, you commit to a contract, because you're going to really struggle to get more than maybe one loadout and a UAV if you're going for kills. Or if you're just going to play it safe and you want to sort of play slower and you want to get in a building and just play with a sniper rifle, then this is a really good spot for you, because there's a lot of open areas, as I said, a lot of long range gunfights. So this could be a really good safe spot and as well as a hot spot. But again, it's all about reading the map. So when the plane is initially coming in, if the plane is coming from north to south, so the top of the map and then down, then it's more likely that military base is going to be hot. However, if you jump at the end of the plane, so the plane is going up the map, so pushing north, therefore there's more likely to be less players at the top of the map later on in the journey of the plane route, therefore it's likely to be more safe. But again, it all depends on the zone as well and which areas of the map it's covering, because that will factor into where other players are choosing to land as well. So just consider all of those reasons. Now, as for the third spot on the list, this spot is a bit off the radar area. Promenade West, one of the safer regain spots in the game in my opinion. Western side of the map is typically easier to regain from. There's plenty of buildings here to obtain loot and also use as cover in case there's other teams around. And then once you have your loadout and your regain back into the game and you're comfortable to move on, you can then either back up into the hills and the park areas to either camp and play it safe, or you can rotate into Boneyard and train station to continue chasing high kills if that's the style of your game and that's what you're going for. Now, as for the fourth spot on this list, it's hospital. This is what I call the sniper's nest. This is a great rotation spot for that sort of central to eastern side of the map. It has plenty of loot due to the amount of buildings, but also as it's centrally located, you can choose to rotate wherever you want after, depending on whether you have a UAV for info, whether you want to play it safe. Due to the amount of buildings there are and due to the high sort of advantage point that you get, you can see for miles and you can just use your sniper and take people out, whether they're in downtown, whether they're in the superstore area of the map, or whether they're sort of promenade side and train station side. You can pick whichever area you want to go. As I mentioned, it's literally central in the map. And then as for the fifth and final named area in the map that I'm going to go over is Dam. This is an outskirts and safe spot to land. It has decent loot, typically a couple of contracts here in this area as well as vehicles. You can fly onto other hot zones right after you get a quick loadout here, or you can just use this similar to Hospital for a safe spot to use snipers, utilize the long range meta and play to your strengths and sit back if that's the style you're going for. But if you're looking to regain, this is also a really good spot. It's typically quite safe. Again, obviously zone dependent, but for the most part, this is what I found in my own experience to be quite a safe spot to regain in case your initial start doesn't go to plan. Now, as for those 5 named areas, I also wanted to do 5 safe spots or just typical other areas that aren't named but are more low key, and other players will be aware of these. But in case you guys weren't, there are other spots on the map that aren't named that are also really good for landing, whether you're chasing again high kill game, whether you're trying to go for a safe spot to play for the long term and play for the win and get recons, or whether you're just trying to get money really quickly and get back into the game as a regain. These spots are really good for all of these different reasons. Now, starting with the first one, this is what we called Airfield Village. So this area is located just north of the Airfield strip, just right above the hangars and the superstore entire area in the middle of the map. This is a really good spot for both regaining and high kill games. It's not typically a safe spot by any means. Every time I've gone here, for the most part, it's rare that you don't find another team here trying to go for contracts and trying to loot this exact area. And same thing with later in the game, it's not typically a good regain spot if you're trying to play it safe, but it's a good area based on its central location and also the amount of buildings and the shop being right there. It's a really good spot to get yourself a quick loadout back into the game, and then from there you can rotate south and go straight into the central area of the map, rotate around superstore, hangars, storage, you name it, all those sort of hot spots, and continue your high kill game. That way you're going to start off your game really well somewhere that isn't maybe superstore, which is just ridiculously crazy, but often you'll find a couple of teams, and that way you can start off your game really, really well for a high kill game. Now, as for the second spot, this is what we call either power or array, which is from the old days back in Black Ops 1. It's just a sort of a telecom tower, a power station tower, where effectively there is a shop here and you are typically going to find a decent amount of loot. If you land here as a squad and you stick together, there's usually maybe one team that lands here, depending on, of course, the plane route, the contracts, and so on. But typically you can go straight to TV station straight after, or up north on the map, depending on where you want to go, whether that's quarry, lumber, you name it, or whether you want to go south and get to TV and then go down to sort of downtown way. It's up to you, of course, but it's a good spot in the sort of good area for the rotation where you're going to be guaranteed to get a loadout due to the amount of chests there are around. And with the shop being situated right there, it's really key for also regain spots later in the game in case your start doesn't go to plan. Usually if there's a contract nearby, you can get your teammates straight back into the game from this area, because typically it's sometimes safe. It's not always safe by any means. It can get teams just run up here quite often, or land here as well, depending on, again, if there's a contract there. But for the most part, I have found this area to be quite good for sort of regaining back into the game, finding quick money, and then getting yourself straight back into the game for high kills. And then for the third spot on this map, we're going to go to police station, or the factories, which is the little area, the little chaser buildings right next to the hangars, right above superstore. This is a really, really hot spot. This spot is really good due to its central location. You're going to find kills because it's the low-key area next to hangars and superstore, but the biggest problem you'll find is that there's no shop right next to you, and therefore you have to either rotate south into superstore car park, which is really risky, or you have to rotate up north into the airfield, which is really risky as well. And the only way I would recommend doing this is using the big bertha in the fire station right next to these factories, and then get across, and that way you're going to be safer, because the airfield village that we just went over is right opposite and they could snipe onto you, or the big airport tower can definitely do so as well. In my own experience, both have been a bit of a problem at times. It of course depends how early you do it, and if you just commit to doing it really quickly, teams will typically not see you and you'll be the first to get your loadouts probably in the game due to the amount of loot in this area. But this is a really good spot for a hot spot and for continuing that high kill game momentum. Now, as for the fourth spot on this list is the bunker town, which is effectively the bridge on the eastern side of the map. This is a really good regain spot later in the game. It's not somewhere where I've typically landed in the past, but it's definitely somewhere where you want to sort of cut off the map for higher kills later in the game if the zone's pushing east and you want to sort of catch people out around that sort of lumber and sort of quarry area. However, if you're sort of just regaining, there's plenty of loot here, and with 2 shops, you're likely to be able to get your entire team back very quickly due to the amount of chests and also with the 2 shops. Now, as for the 5th unnamed spot and the 10th area on the list is the Burger Town, which is literally right next to the superstore, somewhere very central in the map again, but this way you're going to be more discreet and more low-key than landing in super, be able to get a load of loot with your entire squad, and then rotate in and third party everyone in superstore, and then that way you're more likely to come out on top of superstore in case you guys aren't superstore demons and you're not fully comfortable with going in there yourselves, but you still want to have that central rotation. This spot is great for that. I wouldn't ever necessarily recommend rotating into here as a regain spot, as teams just tend to linger around this entire area for the entire game, if the zone of course is around this area. But it's really good also if you want to rotate east and go to Storage Town and Boneyard, or up to Airport and so on. So this is a really, really good spot in my opinion for starting off and then getting out there really, really quickly to a shop and then getting your loadout and continuing high kill games for that central rotation. Now, that is all of the areas on the list that I wanted to go over. I have a previous episode on the channel which is the sort of superstore, TV station, all of those. So if you want to go check them out, please do. It's on the channel and linked in the description below. I'll have future episodes coming out as well for naming more spots and more unknown spots that people people don't really know and more low-key. But as for the last thing I wanted to go over is the contracts and what they mean, when you should go for them, and why and what purpose they serve for your game. So starting with the first one is the scavenger. This is probably the simplest and provides the most amount of loot. However, this one literally leads to chaos. So just make sure you're monitoring and considering where this contract is taking you, because it could push you into another team and therefore compromise your entire game. And therefore, sometimes it's not worth actually going for and just sacrificing it and leaving it. Now, as for the second contract, it's the most wanted. This is a risky contract to get, of course. However, with a squad, it's probably the easiest and best ways to make money. It's also a really good contract to gain if you're trying to get your entire team back later in the game. If they all lose their gulag or they all die and there's no more sort of gulags, or you've used them all up, this is a really good crucial one for the clutch factor. But as a start of a game, I've actually found that this is definitely one of the best ways to make money, if not the best. You just get this at the start of the game, make sure your entire team is aware and they protect you, and then if all of you are opening chests in a sort of smaller area, every time you open a crate, it will bring down the contract time by 10 seconds, and before you know it, you can literally have it done within 45 seconds to a minute, and then you'll be able to get a load out very, very quickly. So I would definitely recommend this if you're chasing high kill games right from the get-go. And then as for the third contract is the recons. This is literally the perfect contract you want to get for early rotation, playing smart and sensible, and playing for the long term and the win. This is definitely the best contract you want to be doing, especially if you have a helicopter and you're like that sort of safer play style. This is just for you. Now, as for the fourth and final one I want to go over is the bounties. This one is perfect for high kill games. Once you have your starting area done and you've got your loadout, this is the best contract to keep getting, as you're going to get rewarded for chasing kills, which is literally the perfect situation. You're just getting rewarded for doing exactly what you're going to do anyway, but you're actually getting money for it, which can literally fund your UAVs and continue your momentum, and it really helps for a good sort of high kill game. So I would definitely recommend getting bounties, especially if you're comfortable and you're confident in pushing kills and pushing out teams. Now, that's pretty much it. Depending on zone, what type of game you're after, or what loadout you're using, but also a more low-key factor to consider is who you are playing with, whether you're playing solos, quads, but also the skill level of your teammates if you are playing in the quad. Whether you're up for the challenge and you want to beat your personal high kill game, then land in these hot spots and go for contracts such as Scavs and Most Wanted. If not, focus on recons, rotating early and setting up deep into the zone in preparation for the end game. Play it sensible and land in those safe areas that I've just mentioned. But anyways, guys, there you have it. That's the full video and the best landing spot areas on the map. As I mentioned, I will be making a second guide next week, which will basically go into more detail on more discreet and low-key areas, essentially the places without names for the most part. But if you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you have any tips or tricks or preferred landing areas that I did not mention, let me know down below in the comments and I'll get right back to you. I'm Vision SGN, and I'll see you in the next one.